Alright, 2.7b is the last part of parent functions. Our last lesson focused on shifting up, down, left, and right. We learned how to use the inside and outside values to pretty much sketch basic parent functions. Today what we're going to do is add two more concepts to our work. The first is what does a negative sign do, and then we have something else that I'll just call a stretch value. I don't know the official name. I should have probably looked it up, but I don't think you'll be injured if you don't know what that word, whatever the number is. For negatives, whenever we convert the base portion of the parent function to a negative, it pretty much flips it over the x-axis. So we will do everything the same. We will still go to the right because that's positive. We will still go 3 down, and if I were you, I'd probably start labeling that. That way you know what direction to go. But 2 right, 3 down is still here. The difference is what this negative says is it pretty much says instead of going over and up, we go over and down, back and down, the way you were trained doing an absolute value. And that's all. Same thing here. This of course is 4 left, this is 2 up. Again, that's in our last lesson. That's something you're supposed to kind of be at right now. So again, you go 4 left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 up. And this negative says that before, when we went over 1 up 1, now we go over 1 down 1, and instead of going over 4 up 2, we go over 4 down 2, and that is what the negative does. Alright, so again, all the negative does is it just takes the up direction that we did, sends it down. It takes anything that went down and then it sends it up. Alright, so the key thing to remember again is that the negative turns all of our ups into downs, and again all of our downs into ups. The rules for the parent function stays the same. So really the negative doesn't do anything, but it just again takes everything that you're used to and just goes the opposite direction, up and down, in terms of going up and down. Stretch value, let's take a look at some basic functions and their main points. We know that this goes over 1 up 1 back 1 up 1, and the line is then drawn. We know this goes over 1 up 1 back 1 up 1, and then you put a U-shaped parabola in there, and we know that this one goes starting at 0 0 over 1 up 1 back 1 down 1, and you draw a kind of curve through that shape. If you notice, the slope of the outside points, and by outside points I mean those two, not the home point, is 1. In other words, we went over 1 up 1 back 1 down 1, all that stuff. What the stretch value does, and again you'll see what that value is, but it just changes the slope of the outside points. So if you're looking at this, what you're looking at now is, if you have a graph, first off we know it's absolute value. We still want to go through and say this is going to go 3 to the left, which it does. But now what happens is, instead of going over 1 up 1, our slope is now 2. So what we'll do is we'll go over 1 up 2, back 1 up 2, and draw your shape the way you were trained before. Again, absolute value is shaped like a V, and there you go. Even with this 4 of course is 4 up, so we go 1 2 3 4 up, which is our home point. The reason that there's no inside shift is because if there was, it would be x plus something squared. So since there's nothing with the x officially, that means it does not move left and right. But again, even with this negative, you could honestly think of this as your slope again. So you can go over 1 and down a half, or you could just think of this as your real slope, which is down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And again, that could be your slope either way. But from there, what you do is you draw the shape that you know you're supposed to draw, which in this case is a parabola. The third one, this goes right, this goes up, so 1 to the right, 2 up. The slope in this case is 3, so instead of going over 1 up 1, we go over 1 up 3, back 1 down 3, because remember this is x to the third, and then you draw your shape that curves through it. So pretty much that just makes it more thin. The bigger the number, the more thin the graph gets. And then your fourth one, this goes left 1, that goes down 2, so left and down. And again, for third root, you go over 1 instead of over 1 up 1. My slope is 2, so over 1 up 2, back 1 down 2. But this graph actually goes this way, if you remember, so it's going to do this instead. Now the thing you got to remember is, we're not going to be able to make a perfect sketch, but you should at least be able to use these graphs to kind of figure out what the sketch should look like. based off of what's in front of you. So again, the key to learning this is to make sure you have a firm grasp on the basics. The new information just requires a slight shift. Your homework is on MathXL, even though it says this, but your initial homework should be done by getting the worksheet. So please come get the worksheet from me and get your practice. Once you get done with that, then move over to MathXL, but use the class time to actually sketch it, because if you remember, you can't really sketch these graphs on the computer, so I need you to be able to do that before we take our test Friday, or Thursday, sorry, it's a short week. But before we take our test, I want to make sure you know how to sketch, so make sure you get on that. Ask for help on your sketches, the live sketches that we're going to be doing, and then whenever you finish that worksheet, then there's homework on MathXL for you. So other than that, let's go ahead and get to work. Good luck.